Right, so these kind of questions generally causes a lot of problems to people because can be easy to work with, but it can be really difficult at the same time. So what we know here is when x is 7, y has to be 4. So it will be in the same proportion. When x is 7, y has to be 4. So it's going to be x is going to be multiple of 7, where y has to be multiple of 4. It goes up in that same order. So if you think about it, you can start with that 7 to 4. So double that gives you 14 to 8. Okay, and remember they adds up to 88. So we need to find a way to get the total to be 88 in a way. So if you think about it, 7 add 4 will give you 11. 11 times 8 gives you 88. So I need to do is 7 times 8, that gives you 77, and 4 times 8, that gives you 30. No, I'm sorry, it's not the 7 times 8 is 56, and 4 times 8, which is 32. When you add them, they add up to 88 when you're adding them, remember. So that's what we get basically. So we know the x is equal to 56, and then the y is equal to 32. And if you're trying to work out what x minus y is, that's what we need to be doing. X minus y, which is 56, take away 32, and what do we get? Again, we can do that very quickly, is 24. Okay, we can do the column method if you need to. 56 take away 32, that gives you 4, that gives you 2. A football team has P points. Now, even if you don't know anything about the algebra or anything about this question, and if you follow football slightly, you would make sense to you. This question would make sense complete sense to you. You can work it out, probably need to spend a little longer with this question. W is the number of wins. So this is just tells you how many games you won. So obviously it makes sense. The total number of points would be 3 times the number of games you won plus the number of games you drawn. Okay? And that's what it is. So D is number of draws and W is number of wins. After 33 games, a team has 53 points. And it doesn't take a genius to work out that there would be 0 points for losing a game. You don't get any points. So if you teams play 33 games and then it has total points 53 points, okay, and out of those 53 points you have 11 draws. So we need to work out how many games they lost. So what we're going to do, we're going to use this formula. You can try that. Let's try with that one, okay? So we need to work out the total points, which is 53, which is equal to 3 times the number of games we won plus the number of games we drawn. So number of games that were draws were 11. So we're going to be writing that 11 games were drawn. Resolving this equation to work out number of wins, and once you work out the number of wins, we can work out the number of losses. So we take away 11 from both sides. So just saying, okay, if you can just work out the number of points you get from the wins, so 53 take away 11 will give you 42. So what we're saying is we got 42 points from winning the games, and every game that we win we get 3 points. So what we're doing is dividing both sides by 3 to work out how many games we won. So something times 3 gives you 42, or you can just quickly do the bus stop method and work out how many 3 goes into 42. So we get 14 games. Saying you won 14 games, you drawn 11 games, and we played 33 games. So what we're doing is we're doing 33 take away 11, that gives you 22, and then we're doing 22 take away 14, and that will give you 8. So we're saying we got 8 games that we lost. Okay, that's all you have to do. Now, slight different approach. 53 points and 11 games were drawn. So again, you do the same thing. 33 take away 11 gives you 22 points. Sorry, 22 games. And we do 53 take away 11 gives you 42 points. So we get 42 points from 22 games. Now we can only get points through winning the games. So we just needed to divide this 42 by 3. That gives you 14. So we know that we won 14 games out of these 22. So we're doing 22 take away 14, and I'll tell you we lost 8 games. You don't have to be methodical for every single question. You can work it out. Again, spend enough time with the question, you can work it out. And again, anything you're doing in your head, you should write it down. K wants to show that all the points 3 kilometers from the point P. 1 centimeter represents 1 kilometer. So if you were saying all the points 3 kilometers from the point P, 3 kilometers from the point P. So all you have to do is set your compass to 3 centimeter, because 3 centimeter will represent 3 kilometer. Now set your compass to 3 centimeter, and you can draw the circle around this at 3 centimeter. So this distance should be 3 centimeter. Now anything within that range is within the 3 kilometer distance, and all the points on that circle would be exactly 3 kilometers away from that point P. I can't do that on here. Again, I can talk through what you need to do. So again, here's her answer. So it's the 3 centimeter that way, 3 centimeter that way, 3 centimeter. What's wrong with her answer? So her answer didn't consider the fact if you go 3 centimeter that way and then you move across, you're going to be going further and further away. That distance is going to be a lot bigger than 3. Okay, so you're actually doing that. You need to be doing this circle. Okay, so that's what's wrong with this answer. Mo played 30 games of chess. He won 18 games. So again, if you wanted to start answering this question, start getting some marks, if Mo played 30 games and he won 18 of those, we know he lost 12. He played 20 more games and he had won 64% of all his games. So we need to work out 64% of 50, because we played 30 games to start with. So we're doing 30 plus 20, so we played 50 games. What is 64% of 50? That's what we're doing, okay? 64% of 50, because that's how many games he won. Remember, there's a quick trick about the percentages. If I don't know what 64% of 50 is, and if I find it easier to work out 50% of 64, it's the same thing. We would get same answer, and this is a lot easier to work with. 50% of 64 would be 32, because that's what you get. So Mo has won 32 games in total out of 52 games. Sorry, out of 50 games. So how many of the 20 games did he win? So we know he won 18 to start with. The remaining games out of 20, he would won out of these 32. So we're doing 32, take away 18. That will give you 14 games. So you won 14 games out of those 20 games. So he won 14 games out of these last 20 games he won. Another way you can look at it, something out of 50 is going to be 64 out of 100. Okay, so I'm multiplying that by 2. So obviously I'm multiplying this by 2 to get to 64. So you do 64 divide by 2 to get this number to be 32. You can work that out saying he won 32 games. Writing numbers in standard forms. Okay, so standard form will always have this form. A sum number which has to be between 1 and 10. It can be 1, but it cannot be 10. Multiply by 10 to the power some number. Okay. Now this power could be negative if the number is really small. So in this case, yes. So if you want to make the first number that a between 1 and 10, I need to place a decimal between 9 and 7. So we know it's going to be 9.7 and needs to be multiplied by something. So how am I gonna get from 9.7 to this? I'm moving it 1, 2, 3, 4 places forward. Okay, so I need to be dividing that 9.7 by 4 zeros, 10,000, to move 4 places forward. And dividing by 10,000 is same as me doing 9.7 times 1 over 10,000. Okay, and if I'm doing 9.7 times 1 over 10,000, that is same thing as me saying 9.7 times 1 over 10 to the power 4. And if you're writing 1 over 10 to the power 4, that same thing as saying 9.7 times 10 to the power negative 4. Or if you want to remember it at this point, if the numbers are really small, the power is going to be negative. If the number is bigger, over 10, 100,000, millions, then number is going to be, this power is going to be positive. That's the quickest way of remembering it. In a week, Samir is paid a basic hourly rate for the 30 hours worked, and overtime hourly rate for any extra hours worked. The graph shows his pay for the working up to 40 hours a week. Work out the ratio basic hourly rate to overtime hourly rate. Give your answer in simplest form. So for 10 hours that he works, for 10 hours he gets 150 pounds. So that's for basic. First 30 hours is basic up to that point. Okay, so first 10 hours equal to 150 pounds. Okay, pay. So obvious thing, divide both sides by 10, so you get 1 hour is 15 pounds. You probably get marks for doing that. Then from this 30 hour onwards, remember every 10 hour that you work, from the 30 we're going from 450, and that's 10 hour done here at this point. Then we're going at 700. So you need to be focusing on this part. Okay, for this 10 hours we're gonna get paid from 450 to 700. So we got 50, 100, 150, 200, 250. So for that 10 hours we get paid extra 250 pounds. So for overtime rate we're going 10 hour 250. So that again gives you 1 hour equal to 25 pounds. So if you want to write down the ratio between the basic rate, which is 15 pounds an hour, to overtime hourly rate is 25. Both ends with 5, divide both sides by 5. What do we get? It's 3 to 5. That's the ratio we get from the basics to hourly rate. So for basic we get 3 pounds, hourly rate we get overtime rate, we get £5. Similar things again. The number of items n made in 1 hour by a machine given by the n is equal to 60 divided by the t. So how long does it take to make an item? Okay, that gives you the number. If it takes 1 minute, so if t is 1, you do 60 divided by 1, it tells you can make 60 items in that machine. Okay, on the grid below, draw the graph of n equal to 60 divided by t. Give you for the values t equal to 1 to 4. So again, we can draw the tables of value that we did before. So we're saying n, and that's the t. So when t is 1, n is 60. When t is 2, n is 30. When it's 3 is 3, n is 20. And when t is 4, n is 15. So we got these values. We can actually draw on the graph. Okay, when t is 1, n is 60. When t is 2, n is 30. When t is 3, n is 20. When t is 4, n is 15. So you can see this is called inverse proportion. Okay, so this would go like this. Okay, so you can start like this, and it would continue to go that way. Yeah. Because in 5, it would be 12 point something and so on. So you will have a curve going that way. Right. I'd also like to look at some higher tier questions as well. So I'm gonna pose, actually I can't pose, it's a live stream, so I'm gonna have to look for those things. You guys just focus on this question and trying to do it yourself while I'm gonna look for some of the resource to look through these questions.